No action taken during a closed session. A recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of Allegiance led by Dr. Robinson. Roll call. Hands please here. Carol Robinson, Dr. Robinson, Jim Bender, Mario Gutierrez, and Dwayne Moore. And Isabella? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Harris?
Second.
Second by Candace. All in favor?
Aye.
Members of the public may address the board on any items within the jurisdiction of the board by submitting presentation requests to the secretary. Members of the public are strongly urged not to mention personnel by name and are reminded that they do not have immunity from legal action if personnel are named. The board may limit each speaker to 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes per topic. And we have Kimberly Schmidt.
I'm coming as the RIF coordinator for West Park Elementary, and I spoke to the RIF coordinator at West Park, or I'm at West Park, she's at Roseman Elementary. And at the beginning of the year, I remember I told you about the over 10 years of celebration. Well, Dr. Seuss Week is coming up, and we are going to be having a RIF distribution, and I wanted to invite you guys to our school. And then West Park, or Roseman Elementary, would like to invite you in May when they have theirs. So, our distributions are at 8, 8:30, and 9. So we are inviting you, and we'd like to come, for you to come on the 6th of March. Thank you. And the high school is coming over to perform too. So
It's fun.
it is fun, yeah, but I want to let you guys know. Sorry. I did not prepare my speech.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Friday. His birthday is March 2nd, and then we're celebrating the whole week and ending it with a book. And a play.
Program.
West Park, yes. And then the kids get a book.
Student board member, Mr. Gilmore.
Okay, so first we have girls soccer is playing their semifinal CIF playoff game as we speak at Kerman High School. Girls basketball is playing their first round playoff game as we speak at home. I don't know against who. I think it's Moron. Who? Moron. Okay, Moron. Prom tickets are $100 till March 19th. The first track practice was today at 3:30. Our first golf practice is tomorrow at 3 o'clock on the tennis courts. And anybody at the high school who would like to take the ASVAB, it's on February 27th from 7:45 to 10:45 a.m. And boys basketball finished third in league. Second. And they lost the first round of playoffs.
We lost a parlor.
Yeah, earlier.
Isabella? Tropical Middle School?
ASB moved the dance on February 14th and is planning for a dance in a day in March. ASB and other school activities are currently selling world's finest chocolate for $1. I have some for sale right now if you have a sweet tooth. Boys and girls soccer had their first games today. Boys team took the win 3-1. Girls played hard but lost their first game 0-3 against Annaverty Hills. Both teams play again tomorrow against Cole Middle School. Basketball season ended last week. In the North Division of the Tribe District League, the girls' 8th grade team finished in 2nd place. The boys' 6th, 7th grade team also finished in 2nd place. The girls' 6th and 7th grade team finished in first place. The girls' 6th, 7th grade team made it to the league tournament finals. For the first time ever, they played a great game, but lost to undefeated David Millen in the finals. The basketball teams had a great season. This past Saturday, our girls' 7th grade basketball team played in the El Tahan tournament. There were only 5 players on the team playing 3 games. They won the first 2 games to make it to the finals. They lost by 4 points and still finished in 2nd place. We like to say, way to go, Chapco.
RTA report?
CSEA want to go first this time?
Yeah, why not?
Flip flop?
Hello, everybody. So negotiations were going to be this 21st, this Friday for us, but we'll have to reschedule that. I'm just waiting on a date from the district, and hopefully that matches with our labor rep dates that she's available. Because we lost our labor rep, Alan Harris is moving to the Teachers Association. So right now we've got a labor rep that's kind of trying to cover, double the amount of districts that she normally does. So we're a little tight on days that we can sit down for negotiations with her. So hopefully it all works out. It seems like we're still having issues with the Tropico locker room situation that I talked about last board meeting. Not much going on as far as like the resolution as to who's supposed to be doing what and the legalities behind all of that. So hopefully we get all of that resolved pretty soon, because it's not the best situation out there right now. Aside from that, everything's been pretty much run of the mill on our end of things. So we're just ready and waiting for negotiations. All right, thank you.
Thank you. RTA?
So this is my version of Gary's iPad from last week. And if any of you remember from our district, Mike Richardson, former superintendent, I learned more from Mike's yellow legal pad about district operations and finance than from anything else. So I'm just going with old school. A few items tonight. First of all, negotiations, as Gary was also pointing out. Most local teachers associations are negotiating currently, but they're negotiating 2019, 2020, the current year. We're looking forward to negotiating for next year as the schedule would be appropriate. RTA is finalizing its proposal for negotiations. The contract calls for us to make every effort to have our proposal ready by the first board meeting in March, which means it needs to be presented to the district by Friday, February 28th, so it can hit the board agenda. I still need to make some changes, but I hope to have the final proposal completed in the next week. I hope. It might be, the meeting after that, but we'll see how it goes. The second item is a very important one we talk about every year about this time, is the calendar for next year. The district's calendar committee has had one meeting and meets again on Thursday. The district is proposing several changes, some of which are minor, but some of which teachers will have a strong opinion. Now the calendar, as you've heard me speak about before, affects teachers the most. It greatly impacts preparation and instruction. This is why teachers need to have the greatest voice. 2 changes are going to be the most significant. The district proposes the first week of school to be all full days. We usually have 2 or 3 minimum days, and it is important to keep those minimum days, not only for teacher preparation, but in consideration of those 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and 7-year-old students who are going back to school after the summer and will have a tremendously difficult time making it through a full day the first 2 or 3 days of school. There is only 1 day in our contract to prepare for the year. That 1 day is almost completely taken with mandatory training and site meetings. So how are we supposed to prepare our room and prepare for our students for their instruction? The answer is simple. Give up your vacation time. Work for free. We need those minimum days to prepare everything that goes into teaching our students the first month of school. The other major change is Parent Conference Day. We have always had conferences from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock on a Thursday, followed by a non-student day on Friday. It is important to provide evening conferences to parents so they can discuss their child's progress without taking time off of work. My experience is the evening part of our conferences are equally or better attended by parents than the afternoon portion. The district proposes to have conferences only on a Friday and only during regular school hours, 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. This does not serve the parents of our district and asks our elementary teachers to work later than their regular workday on a Friday. This needs to be addressed. The third item tonight is board policies, which I know we're voting on again tonight. An excellent question was raised at the last RTA meeting. How do I get to see the proposed changes in board policies? Not me, but anybody in general. These changes are often sent to me, but not always. And what about the general public or other employees? My response to the question was, well, I guess you would have to put in a request for a copy to the district office. This is not efficient or reasonable. So the idea came up that the board should have the written proposed changes in policies put on the district website with the agenda to which they are attached. It needs to be done with the first reading so the public and the employees have a chance to review the proposed changes and make comments if desired prior to a board vote. So I'd like the board to think about that, consider it, and work with the district to see if something like that is feasible. And lastly, at the last board meeting, I brought up student behavior and discipline. I brought up concerns that have been brought to me by teachers in the district. I asked the board, what should happen if a teacher threatens or cusses out a student? Or, I'm sorry. That was backwards.
We know what happens there.
We get in deep trouble. Put on leave and possibly fired. But what happens if a student threatens or cusses out a teacher? I asked what should happen if a student is constantly disruptive in class, keeping other students from learning. I asked what should happen if a student commits assault on a staff member, and I did not receive an answer. I was told the board is looking at the district's discipline matrix, so here's the next question. Is the board inviting teachers appointed by RTA to be part of this committee? The answer should be absolutely. As always, I look forward to working with Mrs. Gaines to address these and other issues involving teachers and the education of our students. Thank you very much.
Keep it up on
Freudian slip.
CDO, Mr. Barnes.
The district business office is in the midst of updating the budget for our second interim. We're on track. There is a lot of adjustments taking place. There is not a lot of impact to the bottom line that we saw reflected at first interim, which is good news. So while there's a lot of budget line item cleanup, shifting between different resources within the general fund, to make sure that we maximize our use of restricted dollars and don't allow those to accumulate over time at the expense of spending down unrestricted funds, which are the funds that we would want to see grow, because those are the only dollars that can fill that 3% reserve requirement that will be part of the key to getting out of our negative budget certification. We're trying to take care of as much of that work as we can right now at second interim so that it doesn't have to be part of our budget development process. So that's largely what we brought to the board as a presentation in March.
Thank you. Associate Superintendent, Ms. Hargis.
Good evening. Congratulations to all the sports teams. That Tropico team that only had 5 girls at that tournament, I bet those girls were awfully tired when they were done. But congratulations to them for doing a great job and sticking with it. Tomorrow we are going to be having our calendar committee meeting, and that's going to be at 3 o'clock, and that's over at the West Park Library. And then on Tuesday we'll be having our district advisory meeting here in this room at 4 p.m.
Okay. Superintendent, Mrs. Gaines. Good evening. I want to welcome everyone here this evening. I too want to congratulate all the athletic teams at the high school and Tropico. Outstanding job. We want to wish our girls who are still playing all the success and hope that they end up taking first place in league. That would be wonderful in both basketball and soccer. Tomorrow at, I believe, 3:30 here, we're having an LCAP meeting. I, along with Mr. Wexler, will be facilitating that LCAP meeting, and I'd like to invite everybody to come back because we're going to be focusing not only tying up the current LCAP plan, but also working on the goals for the future LCAP. And I'd like to elicit as much feedback on those goals that we possibly can. Let's see, I'm also looking forward to negotiations. Bear with me, gentlemen. I'm just, we're trying to get those dates in place, and having to work also with Kern County is slowing me down a little bit. So I think, was waiting today. I was supposed to have the money deposited to begin the construction at Roseman Elementary on the 6 kindergarten classrooms. Today they promised me I'd have the money, but I don't know, no sign of that money yet. So maybe tonight at midnight or something. We look forward to getting all that in place, the design, the planning, and making sure that we're all ready to go by November 1st, so we can begin the construction on the 6 kindergarten classrooms. So pretty much it. What's the amount of that money? Oh, we're waiting on $689,000 for the planning component of the 6 classrooms. That we've been meeting, Jonathan and I have, with the architects, with some project managers, just to see what the cost would entail to bring somebody on to oversee that project. And it's been an interesting road so far, but obviously we cannot move forward until we have those planning funds in our possession. So it's where we're at. And they promised me today, the 19th. So a little frustrating. Board member communication, Mr. Gutierrez.
I want to congratulate all our athletic teams for doing such a great job this year. Those at Tropical and at the high school. And you told those girls, go get them. We're doing good. We look forward to working with the building, and we will definitely give you a call for the disciplinary stuff.
Thank you.
Which one? And Mr. President.
Thank everybody for coming out too, and waiting to hear some good news on the negotiations on all the union stuff, and I think that stuff's exciting because we get to work together and try to get something going, and I know it's going to be some tension going, but overall we want to do what's best for our district and the students and the teachers and the staff. So discipline, I'm on the committee, I'm excited about it. No teachers should ever have to tolerate any of that stuff, and I know what's going on, and we've got to fix that. Unfortunately, I'm learning that there's some stuff we can't do, and it's frustrating, but I think we're going to get on there and try to do our very, very best, and because I'm with you on that 100%. Nobody needs to be treated like that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Doctor.
I know, Dr. Robinson. I was going to say Miss Carol.
Hi, thank you for coming out. I am a little grouchy today, so am not feeling as good as possible, but I've been going to all of the LCAP meetings, and I'm also on the calendar committee. And I'm kind of disappointed that the meetings are being held at the exact same time. So I have to choose which one I can go to. So since I missed the first calendar meeting and went to the LCAT meeting, I'll have to go to the calendar meeting and try to see if we can mediate, everybody's concerns there. But congratulations to our sports teams. That's exciting that we're doing really well this year, for the most part. And even if we don't win, we're still building character, in, teamwork and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
I think so, but it's nice to win. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for attending and taking the time to provide their inputs.
Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I wanted to say I appreciate every single certificated teacher and non-community teachers as well. And I've learned a lot looking at these school plans as well. And all paraeducators too that really work hard, and the custodians. And they sometimes just don't get the acknowledgement. And there's a lot of work that has to be done in the background that we don't always. And CSOs, everybody that needs to be recognized. And I do want to say, go girls for the girls soccer at high school, and the tropical girls too at basketball. And I have a sweet tooth, so I'll be sure to see you after that. Thank you all for coming. Consent items, A through F.
I'd like a little bit of clarification on the RES group trip for the performing arts center. And what are they doing? Didn't have any explanation.
Well, isn't it a program?
So they're going to the LCAP to see a play
Yeah.
at the LCAP.
Okay, because it didn't say what they were going to do when they got there.
Okay. So there's a performance that's taking place that they'll be watching over the LCAP.
In that case, I will make a motion that we approve the A through F.
I do have a question on that.
Wait, you got a question right here.
Mrs. Williams, is the F the program to combat the school dining
Yes.
issue?
Yes.
Remember how we cut breakfast in half and we didn't serve it one day? I think this was our attempt to get the point of sale so we could actually track who gets food and who doesn't, because they can't get both.
Did you hear a motion?
I did.
Okay. Second by
I'll second.
Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Judy?
I said
Aye. Okay.
I'll say something.
I didn't. Okay. Comprehensive school safety plan, third reading and approval. Mr. Bart?
Yes, these plans come to you now for the third time. They represent state requirement. The board is asked to approve them in terms of content, right? And so there are specific requirements provided by the state legislative in Ed Code, and these reports comply with those requirements. They have been developed and written following a template which was provided to districts as an option for guidance by Kern County, and so that's what we have used. And I would bring your attention to a few clerical issues, which unfortunately I did notice this afternoon, an example of which is some of the covers, the hard returns at the end of the line, the cover pages, as an example, didn't come through as they were printed, and so those have been corrected in the final documents. I put my pile over. But an example was when the original West Park cover was printed, the word West Park was up here next to district, and it should be on the line below. things like that have been corrected. Sally corrected some page numbers when they were emailed, shifted, but we've gone through, done another read, and looked for all those errors, and I think we will add one more time where we ask principals when I return these to them. These are now in Word document format again. Last time I told you they were being edited in PDF. We put them back in Word. We'll have the sites review them for themselves, look for any errors or clerical issues, formatting issues that they would like to have changed, and we'll make sure that they become uniform at that point. To do everything we can to make sure that they're as much as flawless as they can be. But at this point, there's no identified content to change.
I have
Yeah.
an issue with one content. The Rare Earth program has on its child abuse reporting procedures, the child abuse reporting form is not included in the packet anywhere, and it doesn't necessarily have to be included in there, but at least it should state in there where you can get the form if you have to report. So if you could add a comment about, you know, you can get this form from this person or something, and every office at every school should have a laminated copy of that child abuse reporting form that a teacher can look at while that they're filling it out. So it should be in a visible place or someplace where they can hold on to it and look at it, and they should be able to know where to get those forms, because I've had to report before on those types of things, and it's uncomfortable to do. You know, it's uncomfortable trying to find the form and do that, and who do I report to, and how do I do that? So we want to make it as accessible as possible.
And I was flipping through here trying to figure out why it disappeared, because I do believe that it was there.
Yeah, I thought
All
it
of
was
them-
there before too.
All of them fell around page 16 or 17 in the book. Page 17 of the Rare Earth book is now item B, emergency disaster plan. So it looks like it dropped off. I didn't notice that. We won't make a note. We'll insert it because that's what we've done everywhere else, I think.
Yeah,
We
then you're
want
just
we
gonna
want to be
have
as
to change the
consistent as
table of
possible. We
contents.
will do that.
But the form's not in there.
Any other questions? Concerns?
No?
Thank you to the board for providing feedback at the last, between the last two meetings as well. It was
I'm
helpful.
sorry I was out of town over the weekend, or else I would have gotten to you sooner with that. But,
So I think we can go ahead and vote on this, on the conditions that these changes will be done.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you
Yes.
feel comfortable doing that?
yeah, this as long as we make sure that all the table of contents are correct, and I've looked at all the content, and the content all looks pretty uniform.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm happy with that. It's just page numbers and little things, but we have to have that for it.
I agree.
I will make a motion that we accept the comprehensive safety plan with the revisions.
I say,
Motion by Terra, second by Bender. All in favor?
Aye.
CSBA Delegate Assembly Election Subregion 12-B, the two vacancies. Ms. Gaines?
Yes, the California School Boards Association is asking that the board vote for 2 delegates. And we have 2 there. As you can see, Pamela Jacobson is from Standard School District, and Lillian Tafoya is from Bakersfield City School District. Pamela is the incumbent. So I believe
We have to vote for 2 and there's 2 candidates.
now there's 2 vacancies and 2 candidates. So that is your decision, how, if you want to vote for both of these ladies, or if you want to vote for one, or
You can't be right here.
Who writes yourself in?
or you
Right,
could write
myself
yourself
in,
in
yeah,
if
that's
you'd like
okay.
to. If you'd like to possibly be on the CSBA delegate assembly.
Reading their bios, I would recommend that we vote for both.
I don't know neither of them, and I'm not voting for neither if I don't know them.
I do know Lillian Tafoya, I've worked with her before. She's a politician.
Then don't vote for her.
So Terrence made a motion that we vote for both. Second by,
I'll second
all in favor?
No,
Aye.
Okay, so there's 3, 4.
I'm a no.
Okay, there's 4 yeas and 1 no, and Stephen yes.
Aye.
Aye.
They're the ones that make the rules.
Okay, Board policy update, second reading and approval. States.
Yes, this is the second reading. These board policies were at our last board meeting for your review. The only thing that I updated you on last time was option 1 on board policy 4116. And the only reason that we had to select option 1 is because we're a school district larger than 250 students. So they're all the same board policies.
Let me ask you, am I reading, I'm not the smartest person, so I need some, am I reading that this is okay to give a student marijuana?
Hold that thought, Mr. Bender. Let's move on to
Yeah,
D.
we're gonna get to
Oh,
that.
I'm not to this one yet? Okay.
Yeah, you've already seen these.
Okay.
This is second reading.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second by,
Thanks.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will accept that one, next one.
Aye.
Got it. Board policy updates, first reading and review.
Yes, ma'am. These are new board policies that are presented to you this evening for the very first time. You can see that these are pretty much self-explanatory in the options and the blanks. However, if we look at board policy 5141.21, Administrative Reg 5141.21, the Board Policy Committee, which consists of myself, President Sanchez, and Clerk Robinson, did not want to make a decision on this particular board policy and felt it should come in open session. If you look, let me explain briefly what is the difference in these 2 options that you have here. Okay, option 1 states the parent guardian of a student who is a qualified patient pursuant to Health and Safety Code 11362.7-11362.85 may administer medicinal cannabis, excluding medicinal cannabis or cannabis products in a smokable or vapable form to the student at a school site. School personnel are not authorized to administer medicinal cannabis to a student. In other words, the parent could come on in a particular area and give their child this medicinal cannabis. That's your option 1. Option 2, because of the conflict between state and federal law regarding the legality of medicinal cannabis, the board prohibits the administration of medicinal cannabis to students on school grounds by parents, guardians, or school personnel. So basically, the difference in a nutshell is option 1 is the board is saying we allow the parent to come on campus and administer the medicinal cannabis. Option 2 is saying no parent will come on campus and do this, nor will a site administrator give this. Those are your 2 options for this board policy.
Option B, I vote yay.
What?
You said A or B, right?
1 or 2?
1 or 2, I'm
two.
sorry.
2.
So, the thing is that if a parent wants to administer, remember, it can't be smokable or vapable. It has to be some sort of edible form or something,
I don't care what it is.
or oil. But if a parent wanted to administer it, they would have to check their child out of school, go off campus, and then bring them back to school again. And if we said no, and I felt because there is a discrepancy between state law and federal law, that it was not something that a subcommittee should decide, that it should be brought before everyone and discussed and voted on by the whole board. So.
Well, let's discuss it. Who wants smoking dope on campus?
It's not smokable.
You have to go to recess, and then we can discuss it. Would you please recess our meeting, please?
I recess our business meeting now. To open public hearing at 7:55.
Okay, now since we recessed, Mr. Quillen, since you run the teachers union, what do you think?
Is this a first reading?
Yes.
And where have these policies been made available for people to read?
This
I don't
is
have them.
This is the first I've had them, so.
Well, how can I comment when we don't have an opportunity to read them
Well, they just
in
read it
totem
for
ahead of
us.
time?
It's in the board
They just read it
packet.
for us.
But is that the only policy that is in the part of the first reading?
No, there's a bunch of them that.
And is
need to be-
that the only phrase where,
That's the only one that has that medical marijuana portion of it.
I'm not even gonna comment until I have a chance to read these and until they're made available for the public to read them. And that's not, that was my whole point,
Yeah.
is you guys get them, and you said the first opportunity you had was now?
No, I got mine on Friday.
You got yours on Friday. We don't get these things available to read, so I can't comment.
Well, it's on the board packet. Did you get your board packet on?
I only get the agenda.
You don't get the,
Sometimes I get the full board packet, sometimes I don't. And it's only the RTA president. What about the
It's
rest
on
of the public?
agenda.
The entire written policy.
Yeah, it's on the back. It's in the, at least it should be on it.
He has up to the adjournment.
Is that as far as you get?
All the language?
That's as far as they get. The rest of the policy.
We don't get all the language.
We only get this.
Oh, you don't have the.
Nobody gets
Wait, explain
all the language.
No, we just get, this is all we get in email.
That was my whole point. I only get it
I
sometimes.
know that that's what you guys got.
I only get it sometimes, and I'm the RTA president. The rest of the employees, the teachers, the public don't get the full written policies. So how can we comment?
Yeah, on the policies you should, I think.
No, this is.
But we don't.
So we will fix it.
So until that, I cannot comment.
Personally, you comment, not as a board president.
Personally,
Yes,
I am not the RTA president.
yes.
I
You
am
are
not a
president.
teacher.
You are not a teacher.
If it's a medicinal purpose that benefits a human, it should be allowed. There's too much stigma over the smoking of pot. This is not the smoking of pot on campus. This is a medicinal purpose that may be beneficial to a human and their well-being.
Okay. I have a comment too. We get irritated when kids will sign out of school and leave and does ADA or something like that. But this policy is basically saying you don't sign your kid out of school for an hour, whenever, 30 minutes, whatever you need to do it.
Well, it could go at lunchtime.
Yeah, or whatever it is. And then we get mad that when kids are off campus after school, if their parents let them smoke, eat, whatever they do with it, then they come to the basketball games or a soccer game, something, and they're using it for medicinal purposes, or they're on it at a basketball game, we get mad and we kick them out of an event that's hosted by the school in our district. So this policy is kind of in between option 1 and option 2. If you need it for medicinal and you need to leave, okay, we get it, but then you have it to where, oh, but you came after hours to a soccer game, you're high, whatever, you need to leave. That's just my.
No.
So, on option 2, because it was state and federally, it's accepted by the state but not by federal.
Right.
Is there any way you would lose federal monies?
I was just gonna say.
Because then that's a different situation, because, I mean, I understand Mr. Fulman and I agree with that. I mean, if it's gonna help a human body, but if you're gonna lose federal money towards our school district because of this, then that's something I think the district needs to look into too.
Right.
Or I
And that's
don't
what
know.
can happen. Yeah, you can lose federal funds.
What kind of federal funds could you lose? I mean, they could
Well-
decide, oh, you're gonna lose more on your ADA. or
Right,
you
they
may
would just say,
lose-
yeah, it's anything with the federal fund, nothing to do with the state, because the state says yes, federal says no.
So it's if the federal government really wants to push it?
Yeah, they could say, we're gonna eliminate those, federal funds, whichever ones they decide to do. And, then.
Has there been school districts that have implemented this and lost federal monies? Or is this just like brand new?
It's brand
This
new.
is brand new.
So this has never been
No,
done?
this
It's
just
never been
passed.
brought up before.
Oh, with California passing a law, and
Right.
this state now, I mean, affecting with the schools.
Right.
Right, so, that's one thing we have to decide, is whether, we wanna go ahead and have the student, give the student the, municipal academies or at home, but then, they go to school in that, state. Or if you don't do that, then you'll have the federal funds that could be eliminated as well. But, it's a hard one.
But I know that there are kids that have seizures, and that this helps their.
Oh, no,
helps them
no
keep from
argument
that,
there.
no.
But you're kind of messing with state, federal, and, I don't know, fundings, and it's just a whole different.
And it could be where, right now it's just the parent, then later on it's gonna be, oh, I can't make it, can you have the school office do it? Or, it always kind of leads to that sometimes. Not that it will, but it does.
And then is after hours games
Right.
considered the same as, because it is on school grounds, is it
Right.
considered the same or not the same? I mean, they're just coming in.
It would still be the same because it's still on school grounds.
Well,
Because I know some of it, like, your lotions, ointments and oils and stuff, it doesn't affect you to say that you actually have the cannabis in your system on some of the oils. No, I don't use them.
I don't know.
No, I don't. Just no.
I think what they're saying is there's a
So, like,
separation.
Huh?
There's a separation between having the actual cannabis and having
Right.
the actual THC from the plant, which is the medicinal part.
Right.
And if you have just the THC, you don't have the being high feeling.
But the child is still not allowed to keep that. When the parent comes, administers it, they must take everything with them, and they cannot leave any of it on the campus. The child is not
Oh,
allowed
right.
to carry any of it around, so they still can't have it on their person,
Well, I think for Dwayne's sake, that he was saying they come to the games after hours and they're high. I think there's a difference between the medicinal. If they're using the medicinal, they shouldn't be getting high out of it. They should be just using the THC.
Do we know that? Yeah.
We don't
Yeah,
know.
so
You
you
can't,
want
you
to-
can't, you can't say, hey, are you on?
Because that's not
DHS? Yeah,
federally
there's no way.
regulated as into how much of
And
anything is
it's,
permitted.
not regulated. If they went to a hospital, they wouldn't be getting it.
Right.
Yes.
We had a student, or we have a student that's still fighting cancer. And so it was something that she was having to do a few years back. And it was hugely beneficial for her. Without her parent giving her that, she was in so much pain and losing so much weight. And it was just something that, like, for something like that, I can completely see having a parent come on campus and giving it to them. If there is a legitimate medical need like she had.
Well, they'd have to have a prescription from the
Right.
doctor and.
How could we stop a parent from coming and giving that to your child? If I had a child like that situation, I would come and check my student out and give it to him and put him back in class. There's nothing that we stop. But as we know in this little town of Roseman, we've learned very quickly is when it was for medical purposes, we grew from one shop to 27 shops for medical reasons in this little town. There's ways around it to beat it, to use it. And last thing I want to do is open up our schools to that. Cases like that, I'm 100% for. If there's a student that has cancer or something and they need help, maybe there'd be a clause here where we can add something like that for a situation. But if we open it up with a blank form that you can come and give your kids, we'll be flooded.
No, that's only if a student has been prescribed by a physician to be given some sort of medicinal cannabis. And that's going to be a half a dozen students in our entire district. And of those half a dozen, you're going to have one parent who needs to bring it to the campus to administer for some reason. It's, you guys are taking a situation and expecting it to explode into dozens and dozens or 100 students when that's not reality. We're
That is
talking.
reality.
No,
Look
it
at
isn't.
Reality.
No, it is
Yes,
not.
it is.
That's,
I disagree
you're
with you
talking
100%.
about two different things.
Disagree with you 100%.
You're talking about two different things because of the stigma of marijuana.
No.
Oh, yes,
That's
you
what
are.
people do. I mean,
Well, I have a comment.
Yes.
And a question for Ms. Gaines. But first, I don't even want to weigh on. I don't remember what I was gonna say. Jesus.
That happens to all of us.
Okay, well,
Your comment.
okay, my comment first is if you take the CBD, whatever, medicinal, whatever it is, and then THC, you take two people, one who's using CBD, one who's using THC, you make them do a drug test, they're gonna test positive either way. So, true statement. Also, Ms. Gaines, my question is, does this policy state, because I haven't read it, I wanna look for it, but does it state that the children are gonna have a form, like a verification from a doctor, written, signed out, saying that they have to use CBD
Yes.
by a parent, yada, yada, whatever? Because like Mr. Bender said, I mean, Gavin Newsom said, look, if you need it for medicinal purposes, go ahead. Rosemont went from 2 shops to 23, running out of garages on 100 Street West.
It basically says in option 1, Dwayne, the parent, and let me read that one sentence again. The parent guardian of a student who is a qualified patient pursuant to health and safety code, blah, 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 may administer medicinal cannabis, excluding medicinal cannabis or cannabis products in a smokable or vapable form to the student at a school site. My personal thought here, Dwayne, is this. I agree with Mr. Bender in that, you know, it comes to a point, my administrators and my teachers don't have time to try to figure out who we've got on file with this form or what doctor. Mr. Quellman, rarely disagree with you, but I'm going to disagree with you this evening. I think there are doctors out there who you really just have to cross your eyes and they'll give you a prescription for this. I personally, as the superintendent of Southern Kern, say we don't need this. I'm sorry. Come and take your child out to lunch and give it to them at lunch on your way back or before breakfast or whatever. We have enough issues that are tempting our young people at all the schools, we don't need to add to that blame.
Yes, Gary?
So if we don't have any sort of policy in place, or we say that it's totally disallowed, right? Those parents that do take them out and then bring them back, and the student's still high, right? Or maybe they did smoke and they're smelling of marijuana, are we going to discipline them?
That's a good one.
If there's a medical form,
If there's
usually
a
with any
medical
kind, with
form
any
filled
kind of a
out for it.
yeah, with any kind of medication or anything, the parent has to fill that out. The doctor has to sign it and it has to be on file.
But that's if they're giving it to them at school, not if they're on any kind of medication.
Oh.
My mom can sign me out of school, go give me THC at the Toms across the street, sign me back in. God forbid I get suspended because I smelled, smoked, took it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
And if you
well, I
actually
need
need
it
to-
medically. Well, look, Dwayne, you're gone for 3 days.
Yeah.
So it dwindles down to the disciplinary part. If you
It
don't
has to
have the
be-
policy,
There has to be a form to basically say it's okay for them to be high at school.
so basically you're already saying that we already have a policy saying if the child has the form, they're allowed to go off campus and get CBD.
No, we do not have a policy.
Well, then
This policy.
someone,
open
you
it.
just said that if they have the form on file, they can.
No,
No, that was when I
That's
was
what
talking
we
about
do. This
medication.
policy,
But what if the CBD is included in their medication?
That's what I'm saying, that, you know, that's probably where they
So,
try
when you say that, like the public, they watch this video of this board meeting, and 3 days from now, when you interpret that, it says, you guys are already saying that we already have a policy saying that we're
We don't.
gonna.
No, we're not.
But
no, it's okay.
medic CBD falls under medication already, medicinal.
not according to our policies.
Well,
Every
that can be fought tooth and nail publicly, like really, really bad. But I'm done. Seriously, which one said nay? Option 2?
Option 2 is no.
Then I want option 2. Does this say student vote?
We don't have, we can't vote on it yet.
It's a first reading.
It's just a first reading.
Mark me down as no every time.
You have to be here for that, Dwayne.
Oh, well, I'll show up then.
Okay.
Like, God forbid.
Okay, so one more, if you say, and 2 times down the road you approve it, if it is a no, but going on what Dwayne says, the parent can put something on file that says, yes, my child, so the district would come up with a form that says, so then if they, I know if they smoke it, it's different than if you eat it or you put the oil on.
So I think if you eat it, you have the same effects.
I mean, I'm just confused.
No, but I.
So then how are you gonna know how not to suspend a kid then if it was because, in the case of Leslie's example of the kid that had cancer? The girl probably didn't act high, but I mean, what happens if she came and she just happened to act high? You can suspend her, or you could, because she's high on campus?
I'm pretty sure as a district, you would look into those.
So you would have to set up
circumstances and-
Yeah, we would have
Yeah.
to set up.
You then would have to make then another, something?
I think they're probably ADHD. A lot of people are dead set against it. But a parent is clearly allowed, if they did not give their child their Ritalin in the morning, they're clearly allowed to come onto campus and give their child Ritalin on campus just as normal, without all the forms and worry. It's, you know, I'm not a marijuana advocate. Don't misconstrue where I'm coming from. I'm an advocate of equal rights and what is best for people to get through each and every day based on their current situation. As Mrs. Lacey pointed out, a student with cancer or whatnot, you know, just don't make your decision based on a bias against one type of medicine. And I'm not going to fight over this decision one way or the other. I think we're splitting hairs here, but we allow it in the form of many other medications, and you need to look at it as a medication.
Thank you. And, but I look at it as well too. It's not federally accepted. If it was not really a big deal and a lot of, people need the marijuana or whatever, the medical marijuana, why wasn't it accepted by the federal? So there's a reason why,
It's
And
funny,
so-
it's funny how people argue fervently for states' rights, and then in the other part, now argue for federal rights.
Well,
It's
for,
crazy.
no, well, for a school district, because we do get funds from the federal, that's why it's available to us to say, okay, there's a possibility we can, we could lack the federal funds.
What percentage of your funds are
I'm
state
not
and what
gonna say
percentage
that.
are federal?
Well, I'll tell you, I can look at one of the school plans and it'll show us. Did you look at Tropicals? It'll show you exactly how
No,
much.
again, it's not made available to me, but it's okay.
It's not available, it's all in your school, it's all about your school. If you look on page, they tell you what's federally funded and what's state funded.
We can discuss this on a second writing too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go on.
Okay, so.
I'm gonna stay out of that one.
Well, I just wanted everybody to know about this issue and, it's just a first reading.
Wait, before we go on, I have one more question.
Yes.
And I don't want, I need a clear answer.
Okay,
Do we have a policy right now, like as we speak, whatever, that says a parent can come on campus and give child a medication?
yeah.
Okay, so then if a parent walks in and goes, hey, my child needs her 2 drops of CBD oil. By law, by a policy, you guys are already telling them if it's a medication, they can't. So I'm just confused why this is
No,
even
we're
here.
saying that they can either do it on campus or off campus.
Okay, oh, same thing.
It also says it's smokable and vape.
It says no, it's
No.
not, it can't be smoked or
It
vaped.
can't be smoked or vaped.
Okay, I thought it
It
said
can only be
can.
given.
No.
Okay.
It has to be an oil or a, they have gummies and with it and all kinds of stuff. Gummies? Yeah, little gummy candies with CBD in them, THC, all kinds of stuff.
Okay, so since that's just the first reading,
I will make a motion to go back into.
Go back
regular
into
meeting.
open session.
I second it.
reconvene to regular session at 8:15. Motion by Gutierrez, second by Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved single school plan for Rare Earth High School. F. F, did I miss something?
Yes, just the.
Oh, okay, hearing
Hearing
and
for the,
public comment on the district's initial proposal for negotiation during renewal process to the current CSEA collective bargaining agreement from July 1st, 17 through June 30th, 2020. Initial reopener proposal to the CSEA was December 13, 2019. Gaines.
Yes, this is just, it's been on the board agenda already once. We're just bringing it back for anybody to make a public comment on the articles that are up for negotiation. We have articles 3, 4, 5, and 7, I believe.
Okay. Is that on in the packet?
Yeah, are they in here? We don't know what they are.
It's not included. Yeah.
It was on December 13th. So,
We can bring it back March 4th.
okay, let's bring it back.
Bring it back March 4th.
Okay. So we'll table the hearing and public comment for the initial proposal for negotiations with the CSEA. Okay, here? Okay with that? Okay,
March 4th, I'll be here.
okay. and instruction. Approved single school plan for Rare Earth High School. Mr. Torres. Is Rare Earth High School.
Good evening. We are asking that the single school plan for Rare Earth be approved. This year, we have added, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the Seuss program. What we are seeing with the Seuss program, in addition to aligning us more closely with the California Common Core standards, within the software, there is built-in extra help, intervention, exam recovery. So part of our plan, where we have seen that we have made small gains in language arts and math, we are projecting that with the addition of this, that we will have more gains, better access. In addition to that, the teachers are also meeting with the students, using the Seuss progress report, and setting new goals on a weekly basis with the students. What we're also presently investigating is the possibility of obtaining a matching grants fund to update and upgrade the computers at Rare Earth. So we're asking to approve that we move forward with the plans that we have set in motion so far.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I was, I didn't get it out, but on your dress code, all it says is that there's no game wear, and you can't wear anything that's game related, and that the school gets to decide because it changes all the time, but there's nothing else about.
Well, actually, the dress code policy is what the board has approved since I've been here. We're enforcing there's no flip-flops, there's no purposely torn clothing. During PE, there's times when some clothes might rip, and until the parent gets there, the student has to be like in a torn knee or whatever it broke. We're also enforcing, like it says on there, that we don't have any of our own spirit wear. We're starting to get some. So students are allowed to wear baseball caps, the ones that have skin sensitivities, but nothing that would be affiliated with gang attire or anything that would promote anything that could provoke gang affiliations.
Ms. Robinson?
Is that in the other plan?
Yes, that's in the comprehensive
I'm
one.
sorry, I'm getting that
School
mixed up
plan.
with your other plan.
Well, that's okay, I've written a lot of reports like that, it's no problem.
I read a lot of stuff this week.
Yeah, that's on the other plans like that.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
But I was just wondering when. Okay.
Can I make a motion, we approve the Rare Earth High School for Ms. Roseman High School for the school plan for student achievement?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Charles makes a motion, second by,
Thanks, Lee.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, Mr. Torres for Abraham Lincoln Independent Study.
Okay, I am asking also that we approve the single school plan for Abraham Lincoln. We've made some changes at Abraham Lincoln. Right now, we are at capacity. We are looking to improve attendance. Even today, met with the family, met with the student, and we are just conferencing with them more on a regular basis. And we're basically just laying out their options. Going to Abraham Lincoln in many cases is a privilege. And if a student says, I'd rather play video games, we have no problem explaining to them, then we have no problem sending you back to your comprehensive school site. And that usually shakes them up because for the longest time, I guess no one has ever really just been blunt with them. And we're starting to do that. Our test scores are slowly rising. However, we're gonna rise even more because this year we were in CSI and we received a grant, so we were able to hire 2 tutors. So the tutors are working Tuesday through Fridays from 8 to 12:15. Now that's an additional benefit because they're able to work in small groups with different students, both on their language arts and on their mathematics. Mathematics is a huge issue. We have one paraeducator right now, or intervention tutor, who's very strong in math. So we have reconfigured to, when she's there, she's primarily working with the math kids, and the other tutor is working primarily with English language arts, which is her strength. Now, they both can do both, but we get more bang for our buck when we actually play to their strengths. In addition to that, again, with the CSI grant, we were able to purchase 120 units of new computers, along with cases, protective cases that go around the laptops, and cabinets to store them over the summer. So with the addition of that, our sales program is going to run even better. The computers we have now are working okay, but again, they're 3-4-year-old technology. They're hand-me-downs from Rosemont High School, which we're very appreciative of. But if we can have something that is directly aligned with, and is going to help us better support the SLS program, then that's where we're moving forward on that. So all in all, we're moving in the direction to improve our academics. Oh, also this year, we moved graduation rate. Last year, we were at slightly under 61%. I'm sorry, 2 years ago, we were slightly under 61%. Last year, we were able to raise our graduation rate to 81.2, I believe. So that is great, that is amazing. We're looking to improve that. I think the only ding that we had was the state requires a minimum of 30 seniors to graduate. We only graduated 27 last year. So we're not out of the woods yet. We just have to, I guess, find more seniors to get out of hot water. So we're working on that as well, I guess. And that's why I think I would like for you to please approve our school plan for this year.
I have one question on the staffing and professional development. You said it's the legal be compliant of the teachers is 100% of your teaching staff at Abraham Lincoln. Is that, I've never heard that before, so are they all 100%?
Yes, when we reduced our staff from 6 to 4, all 4 of my teachers are fully credentialed.
Okay.
Mrs. Stevenson has also a single subject in social studies, and Mr. Lewis is fully credentialed in special ed. So both Rare Earth and Abraham Lincoln are 100% fully staffed by fully credentialed teachers now.
Make a motion to approve the single school plan for Abraham Lincoln Independent.
Second.
Second by Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Students?
Aye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Rosemont Elementary School.
Good evening, board. Good evening, everyone here. Rosemont Elementary is also presenting approval for the single school site plan. So if you look on page 20 of our school site plan, we have an overall performance on the California dashboard. From last year, scores for this score. Previously, we have increased our performance in our language arts. So it goes from colors from red, orange, yellow, green, and then blue. So the higher you go up from a scale, you increase. So we actually raised our increase level for language arts and mathematics. We also have reduced our chronic absenteeism from the previous year, and our suspension rate also has gone down from previous years as well too. So we're on a road to progress. We are increasing in all areas, decreasing in suspension. Chronic absenteeism is going to be an issue at all school sites, but we are slowly decreasing. And like Mr. Torres was saying, we're having those conversations with parents as much as possible when we can. Sometimes in the parking lots, we can't get them in to have those conversations in the school sites. So if you also look on page 25 for our EL dashboard progress, we are actually making progress with our EL learners proficiency. So they are maintained in that area. So we are seeing the things that the school sites and at the district level are implementing with our teachers and our support staff are helping increase performance in our EL learners. And if you turn to page 27, we also have statistics on chronic absenteeism, and our students with disability have decreased or declined. English language learners have increased in that. So we are kind of we're in that stage where we have decreased overall, but there's certain pockets of groups that we still need to have those conversations with, maybe why certain groups are getting to school and what groups are not, and what we can do to mirror what one group is doing with another group kind of thing, so we can get all kids to campus and stuff. And then if we look on page 30, we look at the conditions and climates of the suspension rate. And so we have decreased suspensions with English language learners, significantly increased in students with disabilities. So we're still on a path where we need to make some adjustments, but it's just getting the kids here to campuses to help support them so we can apply those knowledge and skills to the students that are getting suspended or are doing acts of causing suspension, so we can work with them and restore some justice in what they're doing. And then at that point, when we get the behaviors, then we can get them at the academics, and that's where that capturing kids' hearts takes place. Is if you get their hearts, you capture their minds, kind of thing. So and I think that's about it. So we're looking for the board to approve our single site plan. Be greatly appreciated.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
Terrace, second by,
Thanks, Lee.
all in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, school board. Tropico has 5 goals. They are focused on all areas of need for Tropico. We are looking to improve, obviously, our test scores. We did have slight improvement in both English and math this year, which is good considering we've had about 5 years of decrease. We are also looking to improve our school climate, reduce the suspension rate, and the expulsion rate. We are looking to improve our attendance. We are looking to improve our English learners scores, which also experienced some improvement this year. We are showing them all. There's one in there about the California science test. We put it in there because the science test is new, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to start off on the right foot with the science test. That is not really considered a great need because it is brand new, but it does address our science instruction, so we wanted to address that as well. We are trying to increase our parent information and involvement. Some of the things that we've already started, our 6th grade teacher and SST coordinator and Camp Keep coordinator, Carmen Atkinson, is offering what we have called the Middle School Success Series. A lot of these things we're trying to do aren't getting a lot of parent involvement, but we're trying to get the meetings set. We're notifying the parents as best that we can, and we're trying to just set up the framework to hold these meetings, continue to invite these parents and get them to come out and participate in their kids' education. We get wonderful attendance at our parent conferences, but that's once a year. So we're trying to find ways to get our parents to come onto campus and be part of their kids' education. We've seen a rise in parent observations coming to observe their students. We're encouraging that. Our SSTs have increased. You might say, well, that's bad, your kids are struggling more, but we're trying to catch these students that are struggling much quicker instead of letting them flounder for an entire year. We're trying to get them early and often. So we have, our SSTs are nearing the hundreds right now, 100 SSTs on campus. And we have quite a, I don't know the percentage, but we have good parent involvement in that. We're getting more parents that come to these meetings than not. We're able to have good conversations with them, implement the very basic interventions, and then move forward as those kids either improve or decrease or maintain, where we're able to address student achievement through this SST process. And we're also trying to reduce the recommendations for special education testing by catching these kids early and helping the parents understand what they need to do to help their kids. So getting our parents involved has been really important. We feel that is one of the issues that can help improve our school climate. And it's no secret, Tropico suffers with school climate. We have a high suspension rate, a high expulsion rate, and we are trying to set up systems that will address those in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Because we desperately need that. We need to improve that campus environment. That is all of our goals. They all link closely to the LCAP goals that's been set by the district. The main thing I worry about with the SPSA is that it's a shotgun approach. It's too wide. I'd love to be more narrow. With requirements from the state, we have to address certain areas all the time. And I would love to just spend a whole year focusing on school climate. But we have to address all of these areas as best we can. So I'm asking the board to approve our senior plan.
I have a question on the budget summary. You didn't identify any of the federal programs, so I wasn't sure why.
I don't actually do the budget.
Can we?
I will backfill those.
Will you do that? Okay, because it has it for the state, it didn't have it for the federal, and the other schools had both. So, that's it.
I will backfill that component, and it's in alignment with the reference I made earlier to cleaning up the budget and allocating some of the federal funds. The high school, for example, is another instance where the core of our title cadre of money is not accessed by the high school. So it looks like it's missing, but they don't have that funding.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Okay. All right, that was fine.
One of the things I want to compliment the district on is giving us, we haven't made great use of it yet, but they've given us the kind of framework to succeed with certain programs like attention to attendance. We're not making the best use of that program, but we're figuring it out. It didn't help that my attendance SST coordinator's been out for 2 months, but we now have kind of the framework to address a lot of the problems that we're experiencing. I appreciate the district putting in these systems and programs for us to be able to narrow our focus.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Do you find parent observations, do you find that grades go up and like student behavior gets better?
Much of it depends on how sincere that parent is. When I see the parent come multiple days and sit with the kid at lunch, you can tell, you can see that the parent means business. And then there's occasionally the one that will just come to show their face, and then you never hear from them for another grading period.
I know
So the,
was like, hey, look, you need to come join school and around. I get my act together for about 3 days and then probably derail again, but that was me when I was in middle school.
it does depend on the parent, but I have seen good improvement from this parent observations.
I'm just seeing if they like straighten up for a week or 2 and then it's like.
Some straighten up for much longer.
Okay.
So this is to put this together, your school site council membership, that's who did this, so you do have teachers on there?
Yeah.
They're putting in input, and you, yourself, and students, and parents?
Yes.
Okay. I got a question, I'm new at this, so bear with me. So you're telling us that you need 800,000 for your school next year, right?
Right.
Is there, your after-school education, safety, did you look at, like, is this count like cameras that we know we need? Are you putting that in there, or is that
The
different?
cameras are coming from another.
It's coming from another fund?
But they are actually coming.
Cameras are.
They are coming?
They are ordered, yes.
Okay. And any suggestions of any other help for your school? I mean,
From me?
no, from,
Yeah.
I don't know, hey, I need
Our
another
state- our
assistant
stakeholders-
principal,
our
I need
stakeholders-
another this, or.
Yes, of course. The district themselves have said it'd be great if Trumbull had another assistant principal. But we do have our budgetary constraints. We can only afford what we can afford. And until that budget grows, we have to operate with what we have.
So you get your budget, and this is what they tell you, you have to make it work with?
Right.
It's not a wish list, like I wish I had.
It is not.
Okay. I'm just learning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we approve tropical single school plan.
Second it.
Second by Bender. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roseman High School.
Madam President, Mrs. Akinini is responsible this evening to be the admin at her on-campus, on-site basketball game. If the board would like to address any issues in the Roseman High School SPSA, we could table this one and have her present it on March 4th.
Okay.
And make any corrections.
All right, so do you want me to give the recommendation for corrections to Leanne, or should we just go ahead and discuss it now? Okay, talk about it now? Because there's quite a few.
Oh, if you have it highlighted, can I just take that and share that
I
one?
think I will, because I like to keep it to make sure that it gets done.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's quite a few that she's got on here, like the stakeholder involvement, the resource.
I'll make a motion to
inequities.
table it.
Okay. We'll table it. It's quite a bit.
Everybody else presented.
Anybody else? Huh?
Yeah, I'd like to hear a presentation.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay. Motion by Bender to table.
Huh? Table it.
Ms. Robinson, would you second that?
Okay, who made the motion?
No,
I made the motion.
I didn't.
Second by?
I'll second.
Table it to
March 4th.
Personal items. Approve the following list of personal items, Ms. Gaines.
Yes, as you can see, we had a couple of resignations from campus safety officers. We had a paraeducator transferred from Roseman High School to Roseman Elementary School. And we have 3 paraeducators. 2 of them are one-on-ones that we are hiring, one at West Park, one at TMS, and then a sped paraeducator at West Park that we need to hire. We lost a paraeducator. It was, a couple of them have moved on to other positions.
Any questions?
Make a motion that we accept as written.
Carol, second by
I'll second.
Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I make a motion to adjourn at 8:46.
Second by?
Me.
Who's that?
Mario.
All in favor?
Aye.
Kind of walk you through a little bit of information like Mr. So on page 23, talk a little bit about our English language arts. As you can see, it shows quite a bit of increase, and all of our students increased 14.6 points. We're still below standard, but we're working towards definitely improving. All of our English learners and also had an increase significantly with 21.7 points. So that is amazing. All of our areas and subgroups did increase significantly or increase significantly in all areas. And again, our English learners did increase by quite a lot, which is very exciting. If you turn to page 25, we'll start looking at our math. Our math, it also increased overall by all of our students by 5.9 points. We are pretty below standard in math, which is one of the areas that West Park's really been working on to try to increase that. And one of the areas that it looks like we are really struggling in and is with our homeless student population. So that's one of our focuses that we are working on currently. And our English learners, our current English learners did have a decrease as well in math. So they are also an area that we need to look at on page 26. If we move on to our page 29, we can look at our chronic absenteeism. And we, as a school site, declined significantly by 3.6 points, which is pretty awesome. We're still continuing to work on all of our conferences, phone calls, and things with our parents. So we're doing the same things that we did last year to continue to decrease our chronic absenteeism rate. Our foster youth is one area that we need to continue to also look at, because that did have a slight increase rather than a decrease in that one area. Our suspension rate, unfortunately, at West Park was a little bit up this last year. We put in quite a few things this year to try to decrease that. However, we had some different populations moved onto our campus that may impact that in a negative manner. I don't really want to go into that too much, but some of the things that we did put into place for the majority of our population at West Park have made some significant differences as far as our suspension rate. We added, instead of having 2 recesses where we're splitting up our students for kindergarten through 3rd grade, and then half of 3rd grade and 3rd grade and half of 3rd grade and to 5th grade, which is a lot of kiddos out there at one time. We now have 4 recess times, so we have a lot less kiddos at recess time. When we looked at all of our data, looked at our referrals from the previous year, we noticed that there was a definite increase to the amount of referrals that were coming just from our recess times. And I think that had a lot to do with the inability to supervise that many kiddos in a small area. So by decreasing the amount of students that were out at one time, I think it's had a huge impact, a very positive impact on the number of referrals that we've been receiving, both at recess and at lunch. So in general, I think that this would be a decrease, but we did have a change in our school population, as you guys all know, for a couple of classes that were added to our campus that have definitely impacted a little bit. So we are going to be focusing a little bit more on how, and that's actually improving as we go through the year as well, as those students that are now on our campus are becoming acclimated to being there. We've seen a huge decrease in their behaviors, and so I'm hoping that next year that will not be an issue at all.
Do you have a positive parenting program? Positive parenting program, a 7-week?
No, we have not been able to do that this year.
Oh, you haven't been able to do that? I just
We
saw
don't
it
have
on here, so I
staff.
was wondering.
We usually do that, but we have not been able to do that this year, no. We are, however, doing some different things for parents that are, we have had several academic meetings, and we are going to be having something we haven't had before. Our kindergarten teachers are putting together a kindergarten roundup to bring in expected kindergartners for both schools if Rosemont Elementary wanted to send them over as well. That would be in May, to say, hey, these are some things that your kiddos need to be ready for when they enter 1st grade or kindergarten, especially since we don't have as many preschool opportunities for our kindergartners any longer. So that's something we're doing. But as you look through here, there's a lot of strategies that we put into place that we're working on for EL kiddos. We do have that 30 minutes of UA time embedded in our day for every grade level. And our teachers are very much structuring that to work with those students to bring up their CASP as well as their LPAC scores. We are continuing to do our System 44, our Read 180 to help with our interventions. Our SST process is up and going and making sure that we provide interventions for students. Our plan is pretty impacted with lots of things for kiddos in our school.
I appreciate that. You did identify each one by grade level as well, so I did notice that. So, do I hear a motion?
So made.
Who was that?
Marty.